Take a second, man. Hold on.
All right.
Here we go. All right. Take a second, man. Hold on. All right. So, welcome everybody. Infernal greetings, infernal blessings to the Temple of the Black Serpent. This evening, we will have a discussion with the good brother known as Beast of the Laboratory. You can find him on Instagram by Beast of the Laboratory. My man is Cain incarnate. I would say, as far as he has the gifts and ability to create and magnificent tools that you can utilize in the occult. Okay, so he's an iron worker, an artist, you name it. So just introduce yourself for those who may not be familiar with you. Repeat again, your contact information, because people are going to want to get in touch with you after this. So take it away.
All right. Well, first of all, what's up, everybody? Hello. And shit. My contact information is Beast Laboratory on TikTok. And it's also Beast Laboratory on Instagram. From there, you can get to my from either one of those, you can get to my Big Cartel page where I sell my stuff. Or you can contact me directly, through TikTok or Instagram, and we can work on some shit together. And yeah, that's my contact info.
All right, cool. All right, so let's begin. Let's start it off with questions, basic questions I usually start off with. So, how long have you been on your spiritual journey, that as far as you can recall?
Well, shit, as far as I can recall, since I was very young, actually.
Okay.
I remember one of the first experiences was this shadow that would always be behind the door of my bedroom, and I knew it wasn't a regular shadow, even because we're talking about when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Right.
And even then I knew it wasn't a regular shadow because you could see where it stopped. Like that was the height of what was standing there.
Right.
So from there, just slowly but surely, I've had more and more experiences with like more shadow beings, living in haunted places. A lot of psychic experiences led me down my path as well, and just always knowing that there was something more than what I was able to see. Always knowing that there was something more to just this three-dimensional reality, and yeah, from there that led me into trying to find out, seeking the answers to what I knew,
Yep.
And yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people that I've had discussions with or even done videos with, a lot of their experiences began in their childhood. Okay. Some of them will mention something like what you mentioned, a shadow or certain things. Even for myself, my journey began probably around the same age. And I think a lot of us who are connected with this, left-hand path, dark work, dark energy, whatever the case may be, we had experiences in childhood. Now, some of us blocked it out and forgot. We didn't want to remember. Okay. I think others remember because something later on in life triggers it again, or it just stays with them since that early experience. Myself, I was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, visiting grandma, and she laid out the mattress. Back in the days, they didn't have no air mattresses, all that shit. They just put out a goddamn mattress.
Pull out a pallet.
Yeah, exactly. So she put out the mattress, and me and my sister sleeping there. And I remember this dark shadow, but the face looked at me, like it walked across the hallway, stopped and looked at me, right? and it was a
Yeah.
dark individual, but the rest of the shape was shadows, like, just black smoke and shadows, but it was a dark-skinned individual looking at me, smiled, walked away. So, as kids, we either nosy or we get nervous and hide. So I hid for a second, then I look back up, and there it is again looking at me. So ever since then, I remember that. Now, life had its twists and turns, but eventually, around the age of 16, 17, I was drawn into spirituality, learning, knowledge. At that time, I started a lot with, 5% Nation of Islam, Ansar. I mean, I was into that, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
that's not where I stopped at. That was just probably like the beginning phase of learning, of, being interested to learn. So it's interesting you said that, because a lot of us have had similar experiences. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people can identify with that. And to hear others say it makes them realize they're not as crazy as they think they are, or others have told them they are. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
okay, so let me ask you this. What led you to working with your hands to be able to create these great tools, these great jewelry, things of that nature? When did it begin, and how long have you been doing it? And what do you feel is the inspiration for it?
Shit, man. I mean, it began again when I was very young. Um, I was always curious about how things worked. Like I remember one of the first memories I have is of it was either a lamp or a telephone, but I got my ass beat because I destroyed it. And I had to find out because it's a magic box that rings and then you
Right.
pick it up and somebody's talking to you. How the fuck does that work? So
Exactly.
as a kid, I fucking destroyed it. And I've always been that way. I've always been that way. I've always tinkered around, always been into building things.
Hmm.
And it really, really took off once I made the decision to express myself as an artist, to really go down that path. And yeah, that started off with metal and wire sculptures, which is something else that I do. I don't show them off as much because I haven't done one in a while.
Okay.
But it started off with metal and wire sculptures, and from there it just slowly turned into crafting jewelry. And so I've been doing this for shit over 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The inspiration behind my work is, I mean, my spirituality has a big, big place within my work. But other than that, I mean, just nature, nature, feeling what's inside of me, that grinding, that need to know, that inspiration from within, and seeing if I can pour that into something tangible that someone else can see, and that's a big part of my inspiration right now as well.
True, true. Well, that's good, because we all have our expression, right? And art, to me, artists tap into a deeper place than most people to express that. And this makes a lot of artists considered to many, a little eccentric or unique. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But in essence, as I've journeyed down the occult, what I found is these are the individuals that hold a lot of the jewels that people are missing.
Mm.
Because of your expression, you're able to tap into a place that the average, and I'm gonna be honest, the average person cannot tap into that. It's not like they don't have it, it's just they don't know how to, or there's a block or something. But artists reveal things to the masses, or just to groups of individuals, that many of us wish we could do, or that we can open up to. So, your journey by you expressing yourself through art is always a blessing. But here's the thing, though. You don't just express yourself through art. You express yourself verbally as well. You speak out and articulate things that I think people need to hear. This is one of the reasons I asked you to come on this show as well, because people need to hear that. They need to hear other people's minds and thoughts and ideas when it comes to journeying down this path. You understand?
Yeah.
Working with, let's say, demonic energy. You know, how has, let's say, you working with darker forces or energy impacted your life overall, not just in art, but just overall? How has that impacted your life, and how does that make you look at life?
Well, I'm going to say, first of all, it makes me look at life over time. It's created a perspective for me that is far more fearless than what I was raised up to be. You know, typical Baptist household, you know, fucking big old fat black women flying around churches and shit when they get the Holy Spirit, all that shit, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of fear, as everyone knows. You know, you have to be afraid. You have to be on your fucking knees at all times in order to gain some kind of blessing or some shit, which I never saw.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, but definitely is giving me a perspective on things that is far less fearful in my day-to-day life. That's far more empowered in my day-to-day life. You know, for instance, when I lived in New York, you know, and I ain't trying to fucking toot my horn or nothing, but when I lived in New York, it was rough. I was there for 9 months, and about 3/4 of that time, I barely had money to fucking eat. I barely had money to wash my fucking clothes, you know? And imagine me on the fucking Caribbean Day Parade, and it's hot as fuck, and all the ass is all over the fucking place, but I smell like a bum. Didn't feel very good. I didn't feel very good a lot of the time.
Yeah, I feel that.
But that grind and that hardship that I went through, that I knowingly put myself through, you know, that, for instance, led me to the realization that this shit ain't fucking fair and that I have to do something about this. You know, I have to take this into my own hands. And dealing with God, dealing with Jesus, dealing with angels and all this shit did nothing. But when I guess I want to say I managed to maintain a sense of self, but at the same time submit to that hardship. That led me to dealing with the darker forces of things that were around me.
Right.
You know, things that were very tangible versus this bullshit that was promised by God and his fucking super cool white boy son, you know?
Yeah.
So that led me into reaching out towards these things that were right there. They were right outside my door.
Yeah. And
once I managed to get a decent thread on that energy was when things started to change for me. You know, I realized that, again, this shit is fucking unfair. You're either a predator or you're a fucking prey item, like you've said many times.
Yeah.
And I've always known that I'm not a fucking prey item, dude. So I got to find a way to manipulate this energy that I can feel. And the elementals that we know now are also demonic divinities.
Yep.
They've been there for me. They've always been there for me. You know, and I ain't gonna say they were at my beck and call or, you know, no shit like that. But I know that when I started to, I want to say the beginning stages of an evocation, calling out to Satan, calling out to Lucifer, calling out to Beelzebub, is when my life got better. You know, it was just a taste of that energy started to transform my life.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the self, right? Here's All right, so just follow me on this. So the self, right? We hear a lot about the self. We have the fluffy version of the self, right?
Mm,
And that's a lot of people who are conscious, in the conscious community and right hand path and whatever else. And then you have those who truly want to master the self. And you mentioned something that's key. When dealing with these darker forces, they're not there at your beck and call. They're there, usually your connection to them opens up through your trials and tribulations that you go once you open up to those forces.
mm,
So being that the self, to truly master the self, is not as easy a phenomena as many religious groups would like to say, spiritual groups, things of that nature. Dealing with the self can be, a very tedious and very hard task. But as you mentioned, you were already going through that initiation to that current. When you were in New York and you were struggling and you had no finances and you experienced life from that perspective, it awakened you to really understanding that you have to do this for yourself, right? You have to make the moves for yourself. And what I've noticed is when we open up to the self at that moment, that's when these darker forces and that current opens up to us to really personify it and magnify it and basically make it tangible in our life. So in that process, okay, you mentioned your hardships and your difficulties.
yeah.
What would you say to someone who's first stepping into this current, first stepping into this path, right? What would you suggest to them going through your personal experiences on what they should? Hey, cut it out. That's my dog. Sorry, they're over there fighting again. But anyways,
Yeah.
so what would you suggest to them that they should look out for when walking this path? Because of your personal experience, people need to hear that. So what would you tell them if they're a newbie on this journey?
Well, there's a number of things really, but I feel like the first one would be you have to free yourself from that religious thought form. You have to get rid of that programming. And if you can't fucking get rid of it, then you have to learn how to put it to the side so that you can really get the benefits of what you're trying to do until you're ready to go back and attack that shit. Because it has to be attacked.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be attacked. It can't be allowed to exist for you to get the full benefits of what you're trying to do.
Bingo.
And the second thing would be working with your fucking inner children, man. Because those children, it's like a team of X-Men. Like each one has a different power depending on where you were at that age. So for instance, like the ages of like 7 to 8, I knew that's when I was like at my most curious and most creative. So I have a set called the Tinker Twins. One is 7, one is 8, and I chill with them when I need to get some shit done and I need to overcome a creative hump,
Yep.
But those inner children would be the second thing, because also there's a lot of healing that you can do with them that will unlock more power for you. The third thing would be, and I was thinking about this morning actually, which is be aware of the thought forms / deities that you've created over time that get you to act in a certain way that isn't conducive to what you want right now. Like for instance, if you have a thought form from, and back to the inner children, if you have a thought form or an image of yourself that required more power, more strength, revenge upon the world, you know, you more than likely have a thought form within your subconscious that is getting you to act in a certain way, even if you're unconscious of it, that isn't fully open to you having everything that you want right now.
Yeah.
You know, so being aware of those old programs in your subconscious that become actual living, breathing, thinking fucking spirits. You know, I feel like that would be the third thing I would tell anybody. And right back to the first one, I believe would be you have to get rid of fear. You have to deal with fear. You have to. Because scary ass shit is gonna fucking happen. Like, I've had fucking paranoia trips that have lasted for months, and I had to find an anchor within myself, you know, like way past my goddamn root chakra. You know, I had to find an anchor within myself, or else, and I ain't trying to sound dramatic, but I'd probably be fucked up, you know?
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, man, some scary shit might happen. I ain't trying to scare anybody, but you know.
Look, you are on point when it comes to that. First of all, confront. That's a key word right there. What I've noticed is people tend to try to circumvent or try to get around the fact that you have to confront just about damn near everything, especially your thought forms, the way you think, especially that. And the reason I say that is because, as you mentioned, right, confronting religion is a big step. Confronting your culture, because sometimes we grow up in cultures that are very ignorant or open-minded, right?
Yeah.
But if you're from the Caribbean, like my family is, right, and others, we know that we have a lot of superstitions in the Caribbean, and we have a lot of different cultural traits that aren't always exactly lining up with reasoning and things of that nature. But the thing is, confronting ourselves, right, our weaknesses, our programming is essential, especially the fear. Because you mentioned something, and it just reminds me, a few years back, I opened up, I think it was, I can't remember exactly the ritual was, but after I did this ritual, I started having anxiety and panic attacks. Bro, never in my life had I had that shit until that moment. And I know it was a ritual that I did through the clip off. I know it was the clip off and the tunnels of set. It was one of the other that I was working. And shortly after that, for like a month straight, I would have anxiety and panic attacks like every other day. And when I mean anxiety and panic attacks, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was out of breath, like I was hyperventilating, everything. If and when you confront yourself, you start to find the strangest things, right?
Yeah.
Paranoia can pop up, like you mentioned, anxiety, panic, you know, things of that nature are deeply buried inside of us. But if you are not willing to confront it, then these darker forces force you to confront it. Have you found that to be true? If you're not willing to confront it, then these darker forces will make you confront it?
Hell yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. You know, I mean, especially once you've already begun the process of initiation, you know, whether it be through demonolatry or clipothic workings, or just fucking shadow work, you know, just starting off with just the basic shit, inner child healing, whatever, you know, because you already resonate with that energy and you've already begun the initiatory process. I have found many times that they will force you in a way, you know, and if not force you, then for instance, it'll come up in a reading with your cards every time you fucking pull, every time you decide to do a draw, you know, like you can't escape it, especially if it's your biggest hurdle, You know, and I also believe that on the other end of that, there's a part of you that's saying, it's time to evolve. You've opened up this portal, so now you're ready to deal with this thing, this big fucking lump of coal that's been sitting in your stomach for so long. You know, so I definitely find that to be true, man.
True. All right. So mention thought forms as well, right? So many thought forms we have, sometimes it's influenced from outside of us. You know, we live in a world where social media is king, queen, whatever you want to call it. You know, tech, you know, big tech is running the world. They censor things, they uncensor things, all to their personal, you know, liking or dislike, right?
Yeah.
So we're always being bombarded from outside of ourselves about concepts, ideas, fashion, this, that. So how do we dissect what thought form is really ours and what thought form is being brought into us or forced into us? How do we really determine which one is ours and which one is external, making us think it's part of our own thoughts?
Shit, that's a great question. And the first thing that comes to mind is a developed form of a developed sense of intuition, you know, and a developed sense of intuition, and also having already begun the real deep process of forming a relationship with yourself. You know, once you know just the intricacies of how you think, how you feel, you know, then you can tell what's your shit and what's not, you know? And I think that another way too is a lot of the stuff that's being projected it seems somewhat malicious at times, you know? And if you already have that relationship with yourself and you've done enough self-work, then you're not going to come at yourself in a real fucked up way that drains your energy and shit like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. I'm gonna think about that shit later on too.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's what I like to do, is for us to, you know, spark these thoughts inside of us as we, you know, go further into this journey. You know what I mean? Um, for example, something about the self, okay? Many times, and this goes back to your confronting, many times people tap into the void unaware, right? But what I think they fail to realize is that many times when you tap into the void has an effect on you as an individual. And what that means is the void destroys and devours. But that's not your journey in completion. Devouring and destroying is a part of the process. It's an alchemical process, so to speak, the dissolution, separation. All these things are a part of the process of the void, devouring and destroying. But what is the opposite of destroying and devouring that the void does? It creates.
Very
So
true.
if we have to destroy and devour ourselves, okay, you made mention of these things, you know, confronting the thought forms, things like this. What would you say, besides religion, is one of the things that people should really focus on destroying? Now, I know for each individual it's going to be a little different, but there is this general thing that we all really need to focus on destroying. What would you say is one of the biggest things that we need to really destroy about ourselves? Okay.
One of the biggest things that we need to destroy about ourselves, the illusion of what we are taught that we are.
Say that again, brother. Repeat that part again. I just want to make sure they hear this. Say it again.
The illusion of what we were taught that we are. Yeah. Again, through science, through media, things like this. We've been taught since we've been programmed since we were children to know that we're human and this is all there is to it. You know, so in confronting that, we become disillusioned with what's actually possible. Yeah.
I would agree 100% because the illusion of what we, and see, the operative word there is what we were taught we are, not what we think we are, but what we were taught we are.
Exactly.
That I think is very important because we all were taught. And see, and why I'm happy you said that is because, you know, we run into people, especially me doing these classes for years. I'm sure you with discussions with people and things of that nature that want to think that they really are who they really think they are. Okay. And the discussion always comes up, and I always ask them the question, well, how do you really know you are what you think you are? Not what you are more so been taught to think you are, because we all have had to create a persona, an alter ego, so to speak, to exist in this world that's confined by norms, morality, you know, laws, things of that nature. So how do we really know what we are? What would you say is a good way for a person to find out what we are?
A good way of doing that? Separating the bullshit from the facts. Doing the healing work. And being very, very honest with yourself. Being extremely honest with yourself about what comes up. And even if it's terrifying, you still have to be honest with it because it's something that came from you. It's something that you generated. You know, so a complete sense of fucking honesty and finding the power in that. What would you say?
I would agree that you resonate with some things I say sometimes, which is be brutally honest with yourself. For example, certain works, right? Certain works we do on this path, you know, can be more darker in nature. Some of them can be more transformative in nature, whatever the case. But some of this work reveals things about ourselves that we don't want to accept, right? We don't. So for example, we think we are Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Nice Woman, whatever the case may be. We're sweet, we're so nice, we care about grandma, grandpa, and everybody. That's all good, right? That's all good. But what about if you do this work and also you find out you are the coldest bitch on the planet Earth and never really knew how fucking cutthroat and grotesque you can be until you personally go through a working that reveals this to you, right? Now, what happens? You find out you're just this raw, cold-blooded, next to close to a serial killer kind of mentality, right? What do you do at that point? Do you run? You know why I'm asking this, right? Because a lot of people do this when they come on this path. Do you run and go back to the church and say, Jesus, help me? You know, I don't want to realize this part of myself. I just pulled up in this ritual. And see, what they tend to do is then blame the demon or the this or that did it. Their fault. No, that was always inside of you, people. You always had that inside of you. The problem is you now know it. You're conscious of it. Now you're scared shitless about it. So you want to run back to religion. You want to hide from yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. For people like that, it may be best for them to just run back to the church.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is because you can't honestly, like you said, healing is essential, but you can't honestly heal if you lie to yourself. You can't honestly heal if you keep making up lies about who and what you are. You understand? Because just as sweet and nice as yours, just as grotesque, evil, and conniving you can be. And I don't really care about good and evil. I'm just using that because that's what people understand. To me, that shit is irrelevant. It doesn't exist. You understand? It's just a perspective, but we have to realize these things. And what I've noticed is a lot of times people come into the classes, right? The Patreon classes we do or other people's classes that they do, and they tend to leave not because of whatever excuses they give, because I see beyond the excuses. They leave because they know somewhere along the line they had to face themselves and they weren't ready for that. They weren't ready to face
themselves. Fine. That's completely fine. I believe that's okay. If you're not fucking ready to take that step, then it's best if you step back for a minute. Yeah. Because like I said earlier, you may unlock some shit that you were not ready to see. It might be a fucking memory from however old you were that you were not ready to see that could really fuck you up. Yeah. So I do think that retreat is okay, because it's gonna come up again.
Exactly. That's why I always say you can't run from yourself. You can be in the middle of the desert underneath a rock.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have to deal with that very same thing that was revealed to you because you can't run from yourself. Wherever you go, that's there. And you're right. It is fine for them to retreat, right? Because they're not ready for it, but it will eventually reveal itself again. So eventually you're going to have to confront that reality, right?
Exactly. It's just like they used to say when I was in AA, a long ass time ago. Wherever you go, what's the saying? Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And I found that shit to be totally fucking true. Totally true, man. You can't escape it. You can't escape yourself.
That's a fact.
It'd be nice sometimes.
Yeah. It's a cute thought to think, oh, I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm gonna just leave it alone and it'll go away. No, it won't. No, exactly. That's why a lot of times the people who commit some, let's say these heinous crimes and shootings and all this thing, they have so much repressed shit inside of them, they could no longer deal with it. So it snaps and comes out in violent ways. That's what happens sometimes. I'm not saying that a lot of people are gonna become violent, but it is a possibility because where are you running and where you think you're hiding, it's always going to reveal itself. And if you got to eventually just man up, woman up, say, yo, I got it. That's a part of me. That's as much as part of me as me, helping someone, accomplish this goal. That's just as much a part of me, but it's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people this path is not going to give you what you want. It's going to give you what you need. And the two are not simultaneously going to link up. You are going to get what you need, but you may not like it because you wanted to hear. Here's another thing. Some people come on this, they come on this path, right? And they come from this conscious mindset, right? And some of the conscious mindset is very delusional, as you mentioned earlier. People are very delusional. So they came here thinking that this work would verify that there's some god, some queen, some king, some divine ruler, and all this shit. And they found out
some ancient Egyptian priest.
Yeah, what I'm saying? They're Tahuti Rabe or whatever the hell, man. Listen. So then they find out I ain't shit. Okay? Because one of the things I always tell people, as much as I know, I don't know. As much as I think I know, I still don't know. Okay? Because my journey is endless. It's limitless. It's what it will always be. And to think that you're going to find completion in this little amount of time that you have on this planet is not always logical, because you may not complete your journey in this time you have. You understand? And you should be fine with that. Like, okay, I'm gonna do what I can and work my ass off to receive the gnosis I need, but I might not have the time to complete that. Are you okay with that? You know what I mean? So
You
let me
have to be
ask you
okay
this.
with that. Yeah, you have to be.
Let me ask you this, because I've asked this to people before, and I've also said this before. If you still weren't getting any results, would you still be walking the path you walked?
If I weren't getting any results, nah, man. No, I got to figure out something else. Because if I still weren't getting any fucking results, then I mean, I would have no money. I would have no women. My life would be fucked up, you know? And I mean, it can always use improvement, but as of right now, it's pretty fucking good.
Exactly.
You know? So if I wasn't getting any results, then nah. I mean, I will say that I definitely ain't going back to the fucking church.
Bingo.
Hypocrisy, bullshit, and fucking fear is not my get down. I would have to go to fucking college or learn something. I would have to do something else, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's true. But see,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Sometimes people get disappointed because they do a ritual, or whatever, and they don't get a result right away. So they get disappointed. But understand, you're not always going to get results right away.
Exactly.
And if you don't get results right away, should that be grounds to give up? No, but many people do. Results can take time depending on what? Your layer of programming, how much trauma you have within you, how many blockages and obstacles you have, right? So if you have all of that, what makes you think you're going to get over it with one ritual? That's delusional, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's very delusional to think, oh, I'm gonna do this ritual, and yeah, and I'm gonna just become divine overnight. No, you're not. You might realize you're going the opposite way for a moment. You understand? But can you be fine with your life being destroyed if you knew that on the other side it would be rebuilt?
Man,
right? Somewhere along the line, when you were going through a phase of destruction, when you were down, to that nitty gritty, you still kept going because some way, somehow, and I'm sure, but I'm sure you'll tell us, I'm sure you felt that if I just keep going, there's something else on this other side if I keep going.
exactly. I mean, that's what makes this a science, a spiritual science. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to not, as you said, you have to be willing to not get your immediate results. You got to be willing to fucking sacrifice. You got to be willing to be that little kid again that needed to learn, that needed to know, that had that sense of curiosity about you, because, for instance, like the first time I tried the invocations from the Black Ship, like they say you're supposed to feel like this feeling of water falling over your body and all this shit. And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, so I'm really gonna fucking feel this shit, man.
Right.
And basically, long story short, I got to a point where I almost cried. I felt weak. I felt disgusted. I had been disillusioned with myself. That part of me that felt like I had enough had been fucking destroyed.
Yep.
I tried it again after that, and I guess that passion and that anger and that feeling of guilt and shame brought forth the portal that I needed, because once I did it after that shit, with that fucking that thing, that burning in my chest, that's when it worked.
Yeah.
So you got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to not get what you want immediately. Yeah. Big time, man. Big time. That's been one of my greatest lessons, is the pain that comes with this type of work.
Yeah.
The pain and also the feeling of joy that comes from knowing that because I didn't give up, that's why I saw that little glimmer of light that made me kept going, that made me keep going, you know? And I'm sure you've had the same experiences, man.
Plenty of times.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, plenty of times. But see, that's essentially a part of that whole process of being destroyed and devoured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, to work on the self is not a sweet thing, like we mentioned earlier. It's not a sweet thing. You know, people get caught up in, you know, I can find people on YouTube and Instagram who are so caught up on self-mastery, and all you hear every 30 seconds when they talk is, yes, and the self this and the self that and the self. I'm like, shut up, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because the self is more than something you could express verbally. The self is something that you're going to experience being torn apart, being dissolved, being ripped apart.
It's got fucking layers to it. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you not willingly allowing yourself to be torn apart, to be ripped apart, for example, Kali. Kali, right? A lot of people come into working with Kali and they get some watered down concepts of Kali. Everything is Kali Ma, Kali Ma this, Kali Ma. Yes, Kali Ma, she's a mother. Yes, we know that. But she wasn't a mother the first time. Her very inception, her very beginning was straight destruction. Right? And she was destroying the demons, which really represented the demons that would be ourselves, those parts of ourselves that no longer are necessary. She would basically destroy and devour, be rid of, right? So she would devour that out of you. And literally, that's why the concept of her, you know, drinking the blood and having blood coming down her fangs and things of that nature, because it's a vampiric sense. You have to be devoured, but devouring doesn't mean destruction. This is where people mess up at. Devour just means to absorb the energy and you can transmute it to something that's beneficial later. No, Kali wasn't just devouring. She was literally destroying you. She would literally rip you apart, right? And chop off your head and things of that nature. So when we discuss destruction, I use Kali as the perfect example of destruction, because if you're not willing to literally to be destroyed, meaning everything you mentioned earlier, that the illusions we have created about ourselves, the delusions we have, the fears we have, right? The behavioral patterns that are affected by those delusions, right? Or created by those delusions, the weaknesses that we've created, you know, that we're weak and we can't be strong, and oh my God, I need a God or Jesus or someone to help me, please, all this shit, right? That has to be destroyed. So to understand the self is not a concept like, okay, I like basketball and, you know, I like these sneakers and that's just a small, minute part of who you are. Yeah, the part of you that you need to understand is the parts of yourself that are not always likable, traits of yourself, things that are very hidden, and you're afraid of judgment, so you keep them hidden. Can you be honest enough and admit, even if you just admit it to one person or no one, your taboos? What are your taboos? Because everybody has them shits. You may not be aware of it because a lot of times those shits are unconscious, but what are your taboos? And why are they in our life in the first place? What is the purpose of the taboos? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Why are they there? So that's
what generated that shit. Yeah.
Exactly. So if that's the self, the real self is not a sweet process. It is going to be the most detrimental effects you can feel for a short time, but eventually that leaves. You understand? So your experience of having to meet that basically despair, that moment of despair, is possibly the catalyst that has led you to where you are today, right? Because without that despair, you can't dig deep enough inside you to really see yourself in totality. So what would you say? Would you say despair is necessary?
Shit, I would say pain is necessary. And every avenue, in every face and mask that pain can fucking take, I would say is necessary, man. I always say that me and pain, we have a pretty good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pain has been there for me when I was a little kid up until now. You know, some of the most painful things that I've done and that I've been through have been some of the most fruitful things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, despair,
Mm-hmm.
that feeling that like that you might as well give up. You know, you might as well give up. That feeling that's in your fucking stomach that radiates through your whole body that may bring on a fucking paranoia trip, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That thing right there is, I would even say, a key to initiation, you know? A key to initiation, because if you allow that shit to stop you, then you were never meant to do it in the first place. You were never meant to walk that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would say that pain, despair, being disgusted with yourself, all of those ugly things that, as you said, you know, you don't want to feel.
Yep.
You know, because they don't make you feel like a fucking like a superpowered god. All of those things, they're necessary, man.
Yeah.
Big time, they're necessary. Because if you don't ever experience those things, then I feel like there's no room for growth.
That's correct.
You're stagnant. You know,
Yeah.
you may find stability in what you're doing, but you're also in a world of stagnation.
Yeah.
And just my personal experience on this path, if you become stagnant, then that may lead you into you being fucking religious about the demonic divinities or Kali or whatever the fuck it is.
Yep.
You know, that stagnation will lead you into being religious about it.
Yeah.
You know, and you may not even know that it fucking happened until you look up one day and you're fucking doing all this fucking shit, and you know,
Yeah.
you might as well just be back in church.
And I'm happy, bro. That's real profound right there, because that stagnation, right? When we go into the story of not Set, sorry, Osiris and Set, or Asar and Set, right? People misinterpret Set. Set has been misinterpreted for thousands of years. But the reason why Set even rebelled against Osiris in the first place was because of just what you said. He looked at his brother as being in a state of stagnation. He looked at his brother through that state of stagnation, creating a new religion around Asar. Okay?
Yeah.
And so in his individuated consciousness, being a unique individual, right? Having that unique consciousness, he looked at Osiris, and he said, I have to separate myself from this paradigm, because this paradigm is producing nothing but stagnation and people who are stagnated. Therefore, this will continue to propel itself and continue thousands of years later to today, where religion reigns supreme, deities or deity is considered divine, and the gateway to your salvation, not your personal salvation, so to speak, right? So Set looked at that and said, individuated consciousness has to be separated. So let's look at this, right? I'm gonna use the concept of the void again, okay? I'm gonna use the concept of darkness again. When you look at Set represented darkness, right? Because darkness in itself is what individuated consciousness is. Now, let me say this again, because I know people are going to ask and say, what the fuck you talking about, Ravana? Okay, let me say it again. Set represented darkness, and Set represents the individuated consciousness. The darkness of Set is the individuated consciousness, because until you step out of the light, you cannot see where the true individuated consciousness lies at, which is in darkness.
Yeah.
This is why when you look at the Bible, you will see in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth without form and void, and the Spirit of God moved across the face of the deep, and God then said, let there be light. The light is the stagnation. The light is the stasis. The light separates you from the individuated consciousness to create. Because God created, according to their story, God created in darkness and never merged with the light.
Where'd
God
that
never
light
merged
come
with the light.
from? Came
Yeah.
from the darkness. Yeah.
It came from the darkness, and God said, let there be light. And then God said, light is good, but never did God leave the darkness. Ain't that a bitch? Why? Because to create, you have to understand your individuated consciousness in darkness. So therefore, let's use a Tahuti concept, or the principles of Tahuti, or what some would call the 7 principles of Hermes. He says, Tahuti or Hermes says, all in all, right? So all is I am. Okay? All can, I can. All does, I do, whatever, so on and so forth. But here's the thing, and I'm going to give a shout out to my brother Demetrius, because we were having a discussion about this, and it opened me up to that reality too, a little further. Now, all would be the void. Okay?
Oh, there you go.
And then you and I would be what people would conceive this drop of that void, a drop of that ocean, right? But Demetrius was hip when he said this. He said, many people, left-hand path included, right-hand path included, look at themselves as a drop that came from that ocean. So they feel that they must merge back with that ocean. No. Individuated consciousness, the concept of set is that you are that individuated drop, and you take the ocean and put it back in you, not the other way around. Okay? So if we understand that concept, we understand, whoa, I'm the individuated consciousness. In darkness is where I see my individuality, not in the light, because the light is the stasis and stagnation, because this is where this collective conscious exists in the light. The collective consciousness exists in the light. The collective ideas and media and all these things exist in the light. But when you step in the darkness, now I separate myself from that, right?
Yeah, man.
So, like you were saying, see, these are the things that we have to understand. When you devour and destroy, it's because you're devouring and destroying to separate yourself from the paradigm, right? Go ahead, bro.
Exactly, man. Because within that paradigm or that web, within that web are things that we all resonate with on the same level. Whether it be trauma, whether it be pain, whether it be some form of happiness or joy. There are all common experiences that we all have that connect us to one another. So if you really do want to be an individual, and exist as your own deity, then you have to find a way to fucking destroy those links, destroy that webbing. You have to find a way to do that shit, or else you're just like everybody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to accept it. You have to accept that you're just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's fine. That's fine.
And true. And see, that's what made me say that, is because how you said stagnation leads to worship, to religion.
Yeah.
Right? That sparked that shit again, because many people come to the left-hand path, this dark-hand path of self-mastery, and they might have started off like we did, okay? Seeking to be that individuated consciousness, seeking to separate ourselves from the paradigm, seeking to destroy religion and programming. but they ended up right back in that. It's just now from a different point of view, right?
Exactly.
Now they started to do the deity worship again, but on this side, but their minds don't conceive that I'm doing deity worship again, because I think I'm doing some connection with, I'm gonna use this example because I hear this shit always goddamn time, a million times. Lilith worship, right? Oh, Lilith this and Lilith mama did this and Lilith scratched my booty yesterday and Lilith gave me a hug yesterday and she kissed me. Listen, stop it. And I'm gonna say this.
The one I hate the most is Lily said it was okay that I'm a hoe. You wanted to be a hoe, just be a hoe. There's nothing wrong with that.
Bingo,
please.
brother.
Exactly. Hoes are awesome. I love hoes.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to use Lilith as a justification for your hoism. You understand? If you want to hoe out, you hoe out. You don't have to fucking justify that shit to anybody or validate. Anybody can validate that or disclaim or take it away from you. That's irrelevant. So they say that a lot, right? Lilith this, Lilith that, Lilith that. But what they're missing is whether Lilith is real or not is irrelevant. And all that shit is relevant on the left-hand path. What is real is that there's an egregore that we created called Lilith, and motherfuckers been feeding that shit from thousands and thousands of years. Here you come along waking up, and you easily could fall right back under that shit. Or you could stay your wits and say, I'm gonna devour all that energy that people have been feeding that shit for years and use it in an alchemical process to destroy that shit within me, to transform myself to be my own self-deified individual, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's like you said, stagnation, even on this path, leads to worship. And I've seen people come on the left-hand path for years now. They start off right, they start with the spookism right after. I want to worship this. And Lilith, look, the other day, and I had to delete this page, yo. Straight up, the other day, listen, man. I'm scrolling. When I do get on Instagram, I'll scroll real quick and then I get up. But when I'm scrolling, this individual said, Lilith told me I'm an angel. What? I said, hold on, stop, right? I said, what? Did this girl say she's an angel? Yeah, listen now. Lilith said I'm an angel. And I come from a planet of angels, a planet of angels. And I'm a priestess of the serpent, the priesthood of the serpenthood, some shit like that. And okay, I understand people mean well when they say that. I understand this shit. But what happened, okay, it's the same thing that happened in the Matrix. And again, I'm going to give a shout out to Demetrius for sharing this concept, right? In the Matrix, when you see Neo wake up, the first Matrix, right? When you see Neo wake up, he's in a pod. That pod is symbolic of a shell of the Cliffa. It's symbolic of a shell. It's symbolic of a gateway. Okay. Neo wakes up, and all around him he sees these pods and these shells of human beings inside of them.
Yeah,
that is most of us on the left-hand path. When we wake up and start to walk through the tunnels of Set or the Cliffa, we are waking up from that shell, right? And then we journey through all these different gateways and shells to awaken to the reality that, fuck, I've been literally fucked over with illusions of this existing world and its lies, okay?
Yeah, man.
So Neil starts waking up. He starts getting all this shit. You know where Neil fucked up? He fucked up because this is what happens to many on a spiritual path, not just left-hand path or right-hand path, all spiritual path. Somewhere along the line, Neil allowed himself to accept the Messiah complex, that I'm here to save everyone. And that happens to a lot of people on the left-hand path. They start to think they're here to save everyone, and you're not. Period. That's where Neil fucked up. Period.
You're here to fucking save yourself. That's it.
Exactly.
And you're here to fucking save yourself, man. And by saving yourself, you can help those people around you.
Yeah.
When you have enough power, when you've taken in enough sustenance for you, that's when you can reach out and help other people. You know, but I know what you mean, though, that Messiah complex about, and I think a lot of niggas just do that shit to make money, you know?
Facts. That's
but
facts.
That Messiah complex, it fucks you up, you know, it can fuck you up. You know, you get a little taste of some actual real world results, and you think all of a sudden you can fucking help the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, that's not how it works.
Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Exactly. And these fuckers who think that are the ones who want to promote your human life means nothing. Your human life is worth shit. So stuff your face, get big,
Yeah.
get fat, get overweight, and then get some ailments and illnesses and diseases from it. And then you're fucked later on. Because now you're going to go through either extreme obesity or you're going to lose a lot of that and become extremely frail because your liver is going to go. Your kidneys are going to go. Man. You're going to get diabetes or everything else. So this Messiah complex fucks us up because we think we're saving everybody else, but we forget to do the task. Like you said, the only thing you could do is yourself, man. The only thing you could do is yourself. And sure, in our process of doing ourselves, we can shed some information with others who are seeking, and your experiences can help them, what you share. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But eventually they still have to do the job, man. It's like you can't do it for them. They still have to do the rituals themselves. They still have to do these different things, right? So like next week, is it next week? Yeah, it's next week. We have Cosmic Serpent coming out. I look forward to that because she's going to drop a lot of jewels on the dark divine feminine. What it is and what it isn't. And I think people need to hear that shit because a lot of times people come with these concepts and then it starts getting merged with the conscious shit, gets merged with the religious concept, and it just starts to water it down. And then, like you said, people justify, I want to fuck, period. I want to fuck, and I'm going to use Lilith as my justification because I've been suppressed most of my life, right? I've been suppressed most of my life, and sexually now I want to be free. So I'm going to use Lilith but that's the same thing as blaming God or the devil or thanking God or the devil for bullshit, right? It's the same shit because now if I hold out and then something happens, then, Lilith made me do it. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. All right, so listen, we're going to start taking questions from the YouTube room. I'm going to ask these people to type it in there. Let's see. Anybody have questions for the good brother? Now type, y'all. Don't tell me, I'm gonna give them a few minutes though, because sometimes there's a delay with YouTube and the questions come up a little later. But anyways, bro, I want to have you on another class here again soon. You know what I'm saying? Because I like your vibe and I like the way we build. So I would like to have you back, but I'm just gonna kill time till somebody asks questions here, right? Wait, did you drop? Oh, he dropped. No. Wait. He'll come back, y'all. I'm gonna wait till he comes back. I'm waiting till he signals come back. Until then, if y'all have any questions, start asking them for him or myself. He should be back in a few minutes. Any questions? Bring it on. Yeah, Maiden of Liberty, Beast of the Laboratory is a really good person to have on here. But something happened. Maybe his internet went out. You know how this shit does. Maybe YouTube, maybe Zoom knocked it out. I don't know what the hell happened. I didn't do that shit. I know he was on here and it's gone. So let me go back onto Zoom and check. But until then, let me message him. Yeah, put in your questions just in case I'm able to get him back on. Or if you have any questions I can answer until he gets back on. Put in your questions. Let me see if I can get him back on. All right, let's see. All right. Vibe rational. What is a demon? Well, it depends. What is a demon would be a very different answer to different people. If you come from a religious base, a demon would be something that is grotesque, very beast-like, very evil, very everything. So that is what would be that in religion. If you ask someone walking in a occult path, a demon can be symbolic of an archetype. An archetype is an example, an attribute or personality of traits we would utilize for our growth and benefit. All right,
Hey, I'm back.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, man, sorry about that.
No, you good. You good. That happens. We still waiting for questions to come in. There was one question. I gave my answer, but I'm gonna give it to you. What is a demon? Okay, an individual was asking, what is a demon? So I'll give your take on that. I already answered that part.
Well, shit. I mean, first off, I'm gonna start off with like the classical definition, or one of the classical definitions of a demon, which is fucking stagnant clutter that builds up in the corners of rooms and shit. You know, stagnant energy, you know, and I believe that that's one of the reasons why, let's just say, darker entities like shadow people and shit like that, like they do show up in corners of rooms a lot of the time. Like I remember the one that I saw in my room back when I was like 16 or 17. It was always in this corner of my room. And at one point, I really, really looked at it. I was having this experience where I was like seeing through my eyelids. And I really looked at it, and it looked like what you were saying earlier. It looked like it realized that I could see it. And then it looked like it dropped its arms, like almost like it was sitting in the corner like this, you know? It looked like it dropped its arms and it ran from that corner and through the wall. You know?
Yep.
Creepy as fuck. But anyways, that's one of the definitions of a demon. And then you also have the biblical shit and stuff like that. But where I'm at with it right now is I believe that a lot of demons, they're elementals. A lot of them are ancient elementals that our forefathers and foremothers and practitioners used to deal with. You know?
Yep.
In order to get shit done in hard fucking times.
Yep. All right, let me hit you with the next question, brother.
Yeah,
the next question. Brother Dimitri, well, first let me answer this one. When is World War III? When is a big question. If is a bigger question. There is no guarantee that there is a World War III. The collective consciousness will determine that. Our fears, our paranoia, our weaknesses and doubts will create a possibility for that to occur. Or it will never occur. To accept the possibility of a World War III means that we still are focused sometimes outside of us. And I'll be honest with you, I'm just answering for myself. I do not give two shits if there will be a World War III. I do not give two shits what happens outside of myself for the most part. And why? It's because I'm too focused on myself, master myself and my immediate surroundings, meaning my loved ones and those I bring in my circle, to worry about what happens. If it hits, you either prepare for it or you're not. I know what I have done. I know what I do to be prepared for it. That's all you could do. If not, hey, shit hits the fan. If you ain't prepared, you hit the fan with it. That's all I can say.
That's what it is.
Jay, I guess Jay here, I'm sure he's asking in relation to a demon. Could it also be described as being from the Titans?
As being of the Titans. I guess so. You know, in relation to the Titans being imprisoned in Tartarus, in Hades or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go with what we were talking about earlier, which is a demon is something that we don't want to look at, something that we don't want to see, something that was generated through trauma. In relation to that being something within the subconscious, that has control over your nervous system and shit like that, then yeah, you could say that a demon would have a certain resonance with the Titans of Greek mythology.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Are you going to accept the microchip? Well, let me put it like this.
What? Hell no. What?
Yeah, exactly. But
no, man.
I'll put it like this. I'm not vaccinated, never got vaccinated, will never get vaccinated. For people who got caught up on the vaccination tip, even left-hand path people are promoting getting vaccinated. Even spiritual people, all this shit, people are promoting that shit. You know what that tells me? If you believe that shit and believe the vaccine, then most likely you will be next in line to get microchipped. Now, does that mean that you may have been inadvertently microchipped and we don't realize it? Yeah, it's possibilities. But I don't go to doctors. I heal myself. Okay?
Same here.
I take care of myself. I exercise 6 days a week. I do everything necessary to stay at a high level of energy and health so that I don't have to falter and go into places that may open me up to receive that accidentally or inadvertently, okay? So,
and with that said right there, just real quick, I've found that consistent ritual work can also do things to your energy bodies, especially to your nervous system, that will keep you in pretty good fucking health as well. They'll give you greater control over things like your nervous system and the energy produced by it. So consistent ritual work and meditation is another way to stay the fuck away from places where they want to stick you with needles and shit, you know?
That's correct. You stay away from that, you have a better chance. That's correct. Yeah. Now, yes, who is it? Matthias. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part about XRP and crypto. I do financial classes, and one day I'll do a financial class video on here, but not right now. But yes, I do know about crypto and XRP. Myself, I mostly invest in real estate. That's just my shit. But everybody has their path when it comes to financial freedom. All right. What is it? Matthias also asked, do I have any experience with the primal craft? Mark Allen Smith's work. Yes, I do have the Red King. I have that book. The Queen of Hell. I have that book. I'm familiar with his work. He's got some good shit. Not gonna lie to you. He has some really good shit. But I'm also gonna be honest with you. I'm not a book reader. I stopped reading books a long time ago. I have books. I have a library, big ass library here, and every so often I may grab a book, but I don't read books. Okay. I started my journey traveling and studying this, really getting into the spiritual and the occult way back in '89. Okay. And I read so many goddamn books that what happens is you journey through this left-hand path, as you journey through the tunnel set and the clip path, your taste for reading books dies because you become more important. You become the real ritual work. You become that which creates the rituals necessary for your transformation. And no author can ever give you the answers to that. Their rituals are designed in such a way that you can get some results, but it's also created in such a way that they can feed off your energy at the same time too. So that's another thing. That's why I don't read a lot of other people's books. I create for myself, and most people who know, who've been in my Patreon classes, I've created hundreds of rituals from here, from my own works, from my own experiences, from my own journey and travel. So I have some of his books. I've read some of his books. They're good information, really good information. But how many damn times can I read the same shit over and over with these same authors saying it 1,000 different ways? It's the same shit. So I'm just being honest, okay? I'm just being dead up honest. If people want to read books, that's all good. You should always study and get information. But I done walked this shit so long, I don't see nothing new out there.
Yeah, man. Also, I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that also, what you said as far as like you generating your own rituals, you know, like that's an aspect of what we were talking about earlier as far as the spark of the individual, you know, the spark of the daemon, that inspiration that helps you create things that are keys for you to express more and more of your power. You know, so again, like you said, I mean, I love Michael W. Ford's readings. I mean, I love his books, but at the end of the day, though, like he can't come up with a way for me personally, to express my spark. So I got to do it.
Bingo. Bingo, brother. Exactly. Nail on the head. None of these authors can really find a way to open up your spark. That's well said, bro. Because, like I said, if I could take my camera and pan around here, I have bookcases full of books here. I have bookcases full of books. But at the end of the day, you have to find your own spark. That black flame has to be activated by you. Michael W. Ford, E.A. Koetting, Mark Allen Smith, so on and so forth. S.N.F. Mason, so on and so forth, cannot find your spark. You have to do that, okay? And only that is by you experiencing, traveling, and journeying through this work. And I mean going knee deep, head deep, diving all the way into the void, and that's the way you'll figure it out. Okay, so yeah, it's all good if you read someone's book. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if you're looking for a secret or an answer in those books, you're gonna be mistaken. The only secret that's ever been is who you are. That's it. That's the secret, and that's what you're discovering. All right, so is the left-hand path the same path as the Freemasons? Hell no. I went through Lodge. Okay. Listen, no. I was initiated, passed, and raised. No, it's not the same. Freemasonry is essentially a esoteric religious sect of Christianity. That's what it is. It's a esoteric religious sect of Christianity and Hebrew. Okay, they use a lot of Hebrew concepts. They use a lot of Christian concepts in an esoteric way. What does esoteric mean? If people may not be familiar, esoteric is inner knowledge. Exoteric is outer knowledge. The esoteric knowledge is that, okay, which helps master self, brings forward to the self, okay? So Freemasons, no, they're not a part of the left-hand path. They still are very religious, okay? Good question here for you, brother, from Grimancy. What is the story behind the name Beast of the Laboratory?
Well, where I build my shit, I call it my lab. So there's the laboratory part. And the way I go about it is like a beast. You know, like there are times when I start at 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't fucking eat shit, and I stop at fucking 3 a.m., you know, till my eyes are fucking blurring and I'm dropping my tools and materials and shit because I'm exhausted, but there's still that thing that makes me still go, you know? It's that spark, it's that energy, that electricity that's created from creativity, from expressing my creativity. So I'm a beast in that way. In other ways too, but I'm a beast in that way.
That's right. That's right, brother. And let's see. Is Jesus' birthday really on 911? Listen.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Is Jesus' birthday really on 911? I guess this is the new thing that people are putting out there. Actually, I would just say I don't know, and I don't act like I know everything. And to me, it's irrelevant because I'm not vested in the whole Jesus concept, Jesus consciousness. I'm on set consciousness, which is separation, individuation. So I'll leave it there, but I'm not going to even try to venture into answering that because I've never heard of that being 911, but hey, that's what it is.
Is that something that people are saying nowadays?
I guess so.
Huh.
They're asking, I guess they're saying it.
Okay.
Matthias, this question, I guess this question's for us.
Yeah.
And then we'll take turns answering it. Matthias H says, what exactly is apotheosis? That's the first part. Let's answer that part first. Go ahead. What do you feel apotheosis is?
Apotheosis, self-deification, taking full fucking responsibility for everything that happens to you, no matter what. Whether it be something of great joy or great pain. You created that shit. There's a part of you that wanted that shit to happen. And the part of apotheosis is figuring out what part of you did it and how to either destroy it or drain its power. Either way, you're taking power back from it. So in my short definition, that would be apotheosis, just taking full responsibility for everything that happens to you.
Sure. All right. So I'll say, yes, that it is. Self-deification is the act of being responsible for all ways, acts, and actions put forth by yourself, whether good, bad, ugly, beautiful, or whatever. Okay. In the process, when you deify yourself, it's not to stand on a pedestal above all others and say, look at me, I am God. That is delusion. You're being a God for yourself, for your development, growth, and transformation is the key. So in a sense, it's a bit of selfishness. It's a bit of selfishness because—
Tiny bit of narcissism, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is basically focusing on the self and doing everything you can to transform way beyond where you were before. Okay. Now, his second part is, I understand right-hand path connecting back to the source. Can we grow that spark inside of us to be like source and create our own worlds and universes like source? Okay. Now, I'm gonna take a gander at this first, and I'm gonna pass it to Beast of the Laboratory. So here we go. Right-hand path's whole thing, and you might have missed this because I said this at the beginning, Matthias. The right-hand path's concept, and I'm gonna use one of Demetria's analogy. He said, and I'm gonna pass it on again. The right-hand path concept is the source is an ocean. Okay, and everything in existence is in that ocean. That's right-hand path mentality. Okay, and you are a drop of that ocean. And your journey on the right-hand path is you as that drop to merge back with that ocean. That's right-hand path. I don't care if it's religious right-hand path, esoteric organizations, sacred orders, whatever. That's right-hand path. Okay. However, left-hand path would be the opposite. You would be that drop, right, from that ocean, which is the source, and you're taking yourself, that drop, and remaining yourself, but taking the ocean and putting it back into yourself. And so in that response, yes, you are the source and the creator, and have always been the source and the creator of your life. And therefore, you could create worlds and universes and have been doing it since your early childhood. How do I know? I can almost guarantee you, Matthias, that you, when you were younger, created different realities, different beings to speak with, different imaginary friends, so on and so forth. What happened was they weren't imaginary. You really created these beings or drawn to you, and therefore your parents, being of a religious mindset or program, started to destroy that part of yourself, that imagination part of yourself.
Yeah.
And then took you away from your creative essence and made you merge back into the collective consciousness, made you merge back into the ocean, and lost your connection to being the source and the creator over yourself. You have always been the source and will always be the source. So therefore, religion has taken concepts of this nature and spun it around so you always remain a servant or slave to source, instead of realizing you are the source and therefore you create everything. Okay? So I'm going to use that as an example to break down what it is that we're referring to. You are that. Okay? You take the source and put it back into you. Not you merge back into the source. Okay? When you understand that concept, you begin your true journey to apotheosis, self-deification. You begin to understand nothing starts or ends until you acknowledge it. Nothing is real till you acknowledge it. This is how you know you're a source. You didn't know nothing about religion, God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Elohim, Elo. You didn't know anything about them until you were taught about them. And even then, when you were taught about them, you didn't have to accept it. But you did because you were kind of forced to or guilted into accepting it. So the minute you accepted it, you became merged back into the ocean. If you never accepted it, you would have been separated and therefore reached your apotheosis a long time ago. Okay?
Yeah, man.
So, any other questions, y'all? Come on, keep coming, because we're going to roll for a little bit longer, then we're going to get off. So keep the questions coming.
I mean, I guess I have a little something to add to that as well.
Go ahead.
And that question reminds me of how I grew up, you know, and I guess typical in a lot of ways, like trying to find my way, trying to find my group, you know, where I fit in, where I belong. Sometimes it was it was the skaters. Sometimes it was the gangsters. Sometimes it was the motherfuckers that like to break into the bathroom and smoke weed and drink all day at school. You know, like always trying to find my ocean, as you put it, you know, always trying to find my place, you know, until there was about 2 years where I didn't hang out with no hippies, nothing, you know, just by myself, just hung out by myself. And that forced me to become a hell of a lot more comfortable with me and just me, and to really love who and what I am, you know? And in doing that, I found it to be easier to coexist, but also maintain my sense of self. You know, my sense of self being the one that always will fucking question what the group is going to do if I feel like it needs to be questioned, you know? So, yeah, that's what I have to add.
No, that's on point, though. That's on point, because the way you describe that is a really good example. Really good. All right, y'all, come on now. Hit the questions here. Hit the question. I know y'all got a couple more questions on front now. All right, we have the brother here with us today, so please ask. Don't wait till he comes back the next time and then bombard him with questions. Okay, Matthias H. Are these entities real, literal entities, or just names given to energies we can activate and unlock in ourselves? Very good question, Matthias.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Take it away, Beast Laboratory. Let me read the question again, then you can take it off. All right.
All right.
Are these entities real, literal entities, or just names given to energies we can activate and unlock in ourselves?
I'm going to go ahead and say, from my personal experience, they're all of that. They're all of that. I believe that just as Satan is an actual entity with its own individual intellect and I want to say affinities towards certain energies, excuse me, I'm going to say that while Satan is an individual entity, it also is a part of myself. And that part of myself being awakened can resonate with that entity in order to get shit done. And the last part of the question reminds me of something that I've thought about many times, which is, what did the ancients call Lucifer before we know Lucifer? What did the ancients call Lucifer before he was called or known as Lucifer?
Facts.
You know, besides just looking up and saying that star or the sun or whatever the fuck, you know? It's very human. You give something a name, you give it a label, you give it certain properties and shit, and then you know how to control it, you know? But before all of that, what was it? What was that energy called? You know? Yeah. And yeah, in naming it Lucifer, these fucking shadows in this house, man. Anyways, in giving it the name Lucifer, that's a way to activate that particular form of energy within yourself and to also connect with that deity. I hope I didn't just babble a bunch of shit, but yeah.
Yep. Good. All right, so I'll give a gander. I'll give my little take on there. Are they real or not real? I would say it's irrelevant. What is relevant is what result you get from working with that energy or entity. Okay? Why I say that? Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you accept it as being a real entity or not. What you get from that is most important. So, if Lucifer is real, then what are your results you get from working with Lucifer? That's what's most important. Yeah. Everybody's going to have to take if it's real, not real. At the end of the day, shit is irrelevant because what matters is your goal on this path is to master self. So what you use to master self is all up to you. What you choose to accept about what you choose to work with is all up to you. I'll leave it like that, okay? Because
and you know what? I like that because that opens you up to a whole nother level of creativity as well.
Yep.
You know, whether it, like you said, whether it's real or not real, you have to find a way to connect with that energy in order to give yourself a result. And that's where the creativity lies. And there's a lot of energy in just point A and point B. You know, so I like that openness of just not giving a fuck about whether it's real or not.
Yep. All right, 2 questions coming for you, brother. First question from my brother Demetrius. How would you describe your path?
How would I describe my path? Not easy. Not easy. But beautiful and fruitful as well. Along with accepting the fact that I might be destroyed at any moment.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the next question. What energies do you tend to work with the most and why?
Well, I tend to nowadays. Well, I'm going to say that nowadays I'm working more with my daemon, with the different aspects of my daemon and how it communicates with me. You know, the daemon and how it is the other aspect of myself that gets the results. But before that, though, and I guess kind of running alongside one another would be also working with what a lot of people call the demonic divinities. You know, Satan, balls above, those types of entities. Because they get results, man. They get results. That's just what it is.
Yeah. All right. let's see. And oh shit. Okay. More questions. See, I told you you're gonna start asking left and right. It's usually how it works.
Hell yeah.
Iriduli says, have you heard of Baba Kalindi E and high dose psilocybin? No, I haven't heard of Baba Kalindi E, and reason why is because I'm too vested in mastering myself to worry about Baba Kalindi E and psilocybin, which is like a what is it a
Mushroom, I
hallucinogenic
believe.
alkaloid? It's like a mushroom or something like that. I look, if people choose to do psychedelics, mushrooms, whatever, that's their choice. I don't feel I need that shit because I got too much energy as it already is. I do one of those things, I'm probably gonna trip the fuck out. No, I'm trying to, no, sorry. So if that's people's choice, me, I'm trying to perfect this mind, body, and soul. So I take my shit to the highest level possible without putting extra shit in there that I don't know what kind of effect it may have. But that's everybody's individual choice. I don't knock what people do. It has nothing to do with me at the end of the day. But no, I never heard of them. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of that dude a couple times. And I'm not super familiar with his work, but I do know that he was pretty heavy on like taking things like mushrooms and other hallucinogens that get you into like astral travel and shit like that. And the way I feel about it is because I have done them in the past, that shit shouldn't be just played with. It should not fucking be played with. If you want to do it on a recreational basis, like you said, if you want to do it on a recreational basis, that's fucking fine. But I believe that that's some fucking potent ass medicine that could really, really either harm or hinder, So, yeah, man, y'all just be careful.
Yeah, that's it. That's the bottom
Y'all
line.
Just be careful, shit.
Yep. That's the bottom line. Like I said, remember a lot of those were given, those psychedelics, those different mind altering, medicines were given by shamans most of the time. I'm sure he's been initiated or working that. Like I said, I'm not familiar with him, but a lot of them were given by shamans to guide you through there, and they would watch over you to make sure everything is correct and fine. But if you're doing that shit on your own, be careful. Because if you're doing that shit on your own and you trip out on your own, there's likelihood your body is here, your mind never comes back. I done seen that shit happen to too many people. That's why I don't fucks with it. I don't fuck with it at all. Because like I said, I got too much energy to even do that or need that. And I don't need that shit to alter my mind. I do that shit all on my own. And trust me, this mind fucking will alter some serious shit. Okay? I'm just being real. Now, Christ, King Payment's very close to myself. Love these times. Yeah, bro. We try to keep the conversations real to the point. And any one of the demonic energies, entities, archetypes, whatever you want to call them to make y'all feel good at the end of the day, whichever one works with you, that's the one you vibe with. Mine, since the beginning of my entrance into the left-hand path for over 12 years now, Satur, that was my shit. That opened me up. That's why I've always had an individuated consciousness. Always, before I even really got into left-hand path, I always was on my own shit. Never really liked to vibe with other people, be around too many people. I was always an individual. So that's why I vibe with. And this vampiric aspect of Satur, that's my shit. Y'all who've been watching these videos for years know I'm a vampire magician. That's my shit. Straight vampire. And I'm not talking about no Michael W. Ford version of vampirism. I'm not talking about a lot of these shits because those are watered down versions. I'm talking about some real primal vampiric work. Okay? Because the very aspect of you mastering self is very primal and very, very, very dark. Okay? And that's why, to me, I walk the vampiric path within the left-hand path, because I am in need of more primal work to accomplish my task of getting to that level. Okay. You all got to find what works. Some of y'all do payment, some of y'all do Lilith, stuff like that. What I suggest is step outside the box. What do I mean by that? I'm gonna tell you what I mean. Far too often people use goetic demons, okay? Far too often they use the common shit that is commonly used in left-hand path, clip path, tunnels of set, so on and so forth. Step outside that shit, man. Step outside the common shit, and you're gonna find out there's apotheosis reached through various systems out there within the left-hand path that are not even discussed.
It's fucking endless and unlimited.
Exactly. And you could go down the Aztecs and the Mayans and get into the underworld, the necromancy and vampirism through there. That shit will fuck you up like a way you never thought possible. I'm being real, because it's not the common. So that energy is totally different than what most people are used to on the left-hand path. And I want to say this while we're discussing this right now. I don't always like to use the word left-hand path because it becomes synonymous with Goths, Gothic, and a lot of these elements. And left-hand path pre-exists before that even became associated with it. Okay, you got to understand. Left-hand path goes all the way back to India and Vama Marga. It goes back to Kemet and Set and individuated consciousness found through Africa and all these places long before it was ever found in Europe and other places like that. Okay, so I try to say more self-mastery or dark hand path because a lot of times when we hear left-hand path, we associate it with the common, satanic temples and, Gothic and so on and so forth. Vampirism is not even Gothic in itself. It became associated with Gothic because Gothic people tend to be a little more open-minded, so they search for things and they get into things. Okay, when I say vampirism, I'm talking about some primal shit. And if you research vampirism in North Africa, Africa and West Africa, it was straight primal shit. It's a lot different than what we're getting in this Eastern European version of vampirism. Okay, so I'm just leave it there for y'all to really think about that, because when I work the left-hand path, I tend to work a path that is coming from a little more melanated. So I use that word so people can understand it a little more. And I'll tell you why. Beast Laboratory asked a question. What was Lucifer known before he was known as Lucifer? Or the ancients called him Lucifer. Well, here's a little tidbit. Lucifer is a Latin word, right? It comes from Lucifero, right? Which basically means light bearer. But Latin only goes back so far.
Mm-hmm.
So what was he known before that? Now, I'm going to just use this example, okay? The whole concept of Lucifer and the region it comes from the Middle East. In the Middle East, you had Hebrew, you had Arabic, you had Sumerian, Babylonian, okay, so on and so forth. Kemet, Egypt, because they consider it part of the Middle East, even though it's Africa, whatever the case is. You had a lot of different places, locations, okay? So I asked this to a lot of people on the left-hand path who claim one thing, say one thing, but still show their racism. And I'm saying this because if you're racist still on the left-hand path, you ain't doing real left-hand path work. You're supposed to get over all your bullshit, okay? All of it. So I asked people on the left-hand path, so I'm sharing this with y'all now, right? And I'm sharing this with any path, really. If you say Lucifer, right, it's from Hebrew, in a Hebrew place, why do you always depict him as a blonde-haired angel falling down to earth? Why? There's no racism, so why is he blonde? Show me. Please show me. And I'm not talking about these other groups that came into the Hebraic Judaic later. I'm talking about the original were some, different than what we see now. Okay. And when you look in the Middle East and you look at Arabs and you look at Israel and places like that, Many of them are tan to dark, okay? Dark hair. So why don't we ever see depictions of Lucifer with dark hair, browner skin, so on and so forth? Just asking. Don't crucify me. Just asking. Lilith. Here's another example. Lilith.
No, don't.
Oh, I'm gonna do it. I gotta hurt him. Why, when we hear of Lilith, they always say she has red hair and pale skin? Where in the hell in the fucking Middle East do we see red hair and pale? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's a abnormality when it does exist. A lot of people look at it as strange in the Middle East. Okay, dark hair and browner skin is usually the norm in the Middle East. Okay, from tan to darker. So why every time you all on the left-hand path depict Lilith, she's pale and red hair? Oh, I have an answer. I'm not just questioning. I have an answer. That's because what you see Lilith as is what you see Lilith as is based upon your cultural and cultural, ethnic, and racial background. Therefore, you're more common to depict her what you are commonly associated with in your culture, ethnicity, or racial background. That's why you see that. So because there's not a large number of melanated people on left-hand path, there's more coming more every day, but not a large number. You commonly won't see that depicted. But when I work with Lilith, I don't see pale. When Lilith, I work with that, and my mind manifested an image, she was a Black woman. Okay? Real sexy ass Black woman, too. And anyway, that's the side story. Y'all don't need to know that deep. I don't know all the rest of that shit, but she was very sexy, dark-skinned woman. All right? When Lucifer manifests, he looks like a dark-skinned Arab with tight curly hair. All right? He almost looks like, you ever seen movies where they show like Arab assassins and they got their face veiled up and shit like that? He almost looked like that when he revealed himself in some of the works. Okay? That's how it was manifested. He didn't come fucking looking like wings and fucking looking like he's fucking flying out of heaven. Motherfucker looked like a straight assassin, like he was ready to slice my head off. Okay? So my question to you is, if y'all are on the left-hand path and you're melanated, who are you manifesting? Because if you're manifesting what they're telling you, then the trick worked. They're telling you what they want you to see and you're accepting it. And that means somewhere along the line, blast your mind open and get rid of those concepts and let your true self come out and see what you really should see. Okay? Because if what you're doing is trying to use these energies to master yourself, then wouldn't it make more sense to see energies that you're commonly going to associate with quicker than anything else? I'm just saying, because this normally happens and we bypass that shit like it's normal. We read these books. That's why I told you I stopped reading books a long time ago. All these left-hand books, I have so many left-hand path books, but I kept seeing the same shit over and over, the same images over and over. And it dawned on me. I said, fuck this shit, man. I don't need that shit. Because honestly, if I'm an individual at a conscious like set, I'm gonna separate myself from all that shit, including what y'all putting out. Okay, you can't tell me otherwise. Because I'm not gonna buy your shit and co-sign your shit because you want to glorify yourself as the hot shit. Nah, son, that don't work like that here. That's why when I do these classes, I do these classes a lot for our people. Our people. Okay, and I don't care if that rubs people the wrong way, makes them upset. Oh, you're racist. I'm not racist. I don't give a damn about racism. But what I'm saying is, I'm not going to let the same iconography, the same images we had in religion filter over. Now I'm over here and you're still bringing that same bullshit over here. Not happening, man. Our people need our own shit. So that's why, like a brother like Omnistrone, if y'all don't see him or haven't seen him, he got his page on Instagram. He actually is an artiste, and he actually depicts Lucifer and others as melanated with horns and all the things that people need for the symbolism. He depicts that. Go support that brother, because that's what y'all need when you're doing your ritual work. Not once, when I did a ritual work from someone else when I first started, did I ever fucking use the same image they gave me? Nope. I found me a baddie from Instagram, downloaded that shit, put that shit on the altar. I said, that's Lilith. Fuck that shit. I'm not doing all that work. And then we don't realize that as much as you break and being a master of yourself, is as much as you're going right back under that shit when you're reading other people's books and they're giving you their images. Listen, Matthias, you're not a little melanin. Polynesian, I've been to Hawaii. I've been to places. I've been blessed with the ability to travel. Polynesians got melanin, not a little bit of melanin. Some of you fuckers are dark too. All right. So just let's be real. And Polynesians can be related to Melanesians to Micronesians, so on and so forth. You're all of one family, whether we like each other at night or not, you know what I'm saying? But you still got melanin, even if your mama white, that shit don't matter if your daddy black or vice versa. The point is, it's not so much melanin, it's what you do with the melanin. Because I hear a lot of people say, oh, melanin, like that makes you powerful. No, it don't. There's a lot of dumb fuckers who have melanin.
Melanin is the new fucking religion, man.
Yeah, it is. Melanin is melanin that. And these fuckers are more retarded than the average person. That don't mean shit. All right? What makes you powerful is how you can use that melanin to travel into the void and master yourself. That's what makes you powerful. Because the melanin is a vessel you can use to tap into the void a lot faster than the average person. Why? Because melanin is a conductor. It's a semiconductor. It conducts energy. It feels vibrations a lot faster and quicker than those who are lacking or have a low amount of melanin. Do you understand? So when you're able to really learn the science of melanin, not just tell me it's carbon-based, blah, blah, all this bullshit I've heard since I was 19 years old, okay? That shit don't mean nothing to me. What it means what I want to know is, can you work that shit? How do you use it? And don't tell me, oh, I just sit there and I start doing chaos magic and I just blast shit. No, that whack too, okay? Because you really want to know the science? Trust me, that ain't gonna work that much either. If you really want to know the science, tap into the void through your melanin. Okay? That's the facts. You tap into that melanin, you tap into the void. When you tap into the void, guess what? Be ready to be destroyed. Because at that moment, you're going to realize melanin don't mean shit in the void. The only thing that means shit in the void is how that black flame's been activated and how you recreate yourself after that. Because after you devour and destroy, shit ain't going to be the same. You're going to be walking around like a goddamn zombie for a few days, blah, like really like fucked up. And then it comes back, your energy comes back to you and you start waking up and you start saying, whoa, I just went through some serious shit, saw myself totally transformed, okay? Saw myself totally transformed, and now I'm putting myself back together, but I'm putting it back together the way I see fit. Not the way I was put together by society, by my family, by so on and so forth, but the way I see fit now. Because one of the reasons why I work vampire magic, because we're amoral. You know what that means? We don't have morality. Morality is what fucks a lot of us over.
Yeah,
okay?
man.
It fucks us over a lot more than we realize, because this morality is what keeps us bound within a certain behavioral pattern. Okay, so vampirism to me is destroying literally that morality that keeps you cased, okay, within a coffin. And you're unable to open the coffin as a vampire, because when a vampire opens the coffin, they're reborn. Symbolism. It's not a real thing. A fucking vampire's lying in a coffin. If you believe that shit, you might as well co-sign Anne Rice and her stories too as being real. Okay? Her stories are dope, don't get me wrong, but the shit is fucking symbolic. So if I'm in the coffin as a vampire, I can never open that coffin because my morality weighs me down. My fucking conditioning and social programming weighs me down. I can't open past that coffin because of that. So to destroy self is to destroy your morality. It's to destroy everything you've ever been taught and question everything about yourself. Like, why do I like such and such? Why do I listen to such and such type music? Why this? Why that? That's just the beginning phase of the questions you should be asking. Like, why do you, okay, I'll give you an example. So if you're a black man and you like a white woman, why am I guilted for that? I'm not saying that co-signing motherfuckers doing that shit or not. That's irrelevant. What I'm saying is, why are you questioned for that? Whose business is it other than yours why you like what you like? No one's. So if you feel you still got to justify why you like what you like, you still ain't woken up. You still stuck in a morality, conditioning, control, and everything else. Because the conscious community is very controlling. And y'all don't think so? Very controlling. Because the conscious community tells you what you can like, what you shouldn't like. Oh, he's mixed, he's light-skinned, so you shouldn't like that. He got the devil in him. All this bullshit that I've heard since fucking 1989. Okay? I don't care about all that shit. If you are a black woman and you like a fucking Chinese man, that's what the fuck it is. Who you got to justify that shit to? All right? If y'all want to play, you know, hide the snake and the dragon in the garden, that's y'all choice. Who you choose to play that with is no one's fucking business. But people still feel guilty. I remember, listen, true story, when I was in college, this sister wouldn't date me because her family told her, you know, watch out for Puerto Ricans and light-skinned men because, you know, we're dirty, we're dogs, you know, we do all this shit. I can't tell you if it's true or not. Well, maybe I could tell you, but I ain't gonna answer that shit. I'm not gonna incriminate motherfuckers. But anyway, the point is this, you know, that's what they were told. So they never gave me a chance to date him because of that. And they could have, and that could have been a successful relationship that both parties could have grown beyond that. So question, what the fuck are you doing? If you're still listening or to what your family upbringing was, to this and this and that, how are you going to grow past it? You're not. You're still going to maintain the same program individuals, doing the same program things, acting like the same retarded fool you've been acting for 30, 40 years. So what is the purpose of the left-hand path? To master yourself. How do you master yourself? Start breaking your programming. Stop reacting to things the way you've always reacted, which is your behavioral programming. So if you're still reacting the same after 50 years and you still ain't broken it, you ain't grown. You're still the same person, okay? Yeah. Master your shit. Tap into your creativity like the brother Beast of the Laboratory. Very creative brother. Go support him. Go support his work, okay? He creates a lot of dope jewelry. He creates a lot of dope things. He's going to give his contact information when we're done here. Go support him. Tap into your creativity. If you're musically inclined, then tap into that. I don't like trap. I don't mean you don't have to, you know, you can like what the fuck you want to like. I don't like that garbage shit, but that's people's fucking personal business. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that. I'm not co-signing that shit, and you're never going to convince me otherwise, but that's another story. And anyways, tap into your creativity. If you're a poet, tap into that shit. If you're a fucking dancer, tap into that shit. Right? You could be a master seducer as a male, female. Tap into that shit. Okay? Don't fucking let anybody tell you that's wrong. I mean, fuck you. Tap into that. They just jealous because they can't seduce anything. All right? So tap into your shit and wake up and let yourself be real, but stop fucking being programmed. I'm sorry I went on a tangent, brother, but
no, man, no. I mean, the only thing I can really throw in, man, is that, like, there's a lot of people out there that would say that they don't have an artistic bone in their fucking body, you know? And yep. I've never believed that. I believe that if you're a chef, you are an artist of sorts. If you're a fucking mechanic, an auto mechanic, you have to sometimes figure out how to get around a certain problem, and you may not have the fucking tool to do it. I mean, you got to nigger rig some shit, which is, from what we learned from Bobby Hemmett, is pure fucking creativity that you apply to a problem and you fix it. If you're a mechanic, you're an artist. You know, if you're a fucking street fighter, you're a fucking artist of sorts. You know, like, everybody has a way of expressing that internal spark. Everybody has their way. It's just about not putting so much seriousness on it and just doing it for fun sometimes. You know, a lot of people take themselves far too fucking seriously, man. And they forget about how much that little kid inside of them love to just fucking play.
Yeah.
You know?
But,
so,
bro, that's 100% on point, because I'll just use hip hop as an example, right? That's the shit I grew up on at an early age, right? So anyways, when hip hop was done more for fun and creativity, there was more artistic talent involved.
Yeah, man.
But when it became more about money, the creativity, the talent level dropped off, and it became a monotone blend, meaning it just sounds the same across the board. At one time, you would know when somebody was from West Coast, when somebody was from down south, when somebody was from up north, New York. You heard the different styles. Now everything sounds the same. That means they took you from being a creative being to a monotone being. Whether you like the shit or not, I don't care if you like the music, don't like the music. That's not the point. The point is, listen to what's happened. If you grew up in today's age, you're a younger person, you're gonna like what you like. That's usually what's accessible to you. But do yourself a favor and take a musical journey back in time. Yeah. I'm not saying even to stop at hip hop, because hip hop came from different elements of sound that created the beats to create what it is today. Okay, because hip hop is influenced by funk, soul, jazz, so on and so forth. All right. But do yourself a favor and go back and analyze how there was differences in sound, differences in location and area, and then how it all sounds bland and the same. Okay? The way they hook you is through the beats and the hooks. That's how they hook you in your nose to get addicted to sounds and beats, is because they take a certain pattern, a drum pattern, they lay a hook over it, and then they usually lay a little vocal over it. And now they fucking sample goats and fucking do auto-tune that shit and make it sound like it's some dope shit. Okay. But the point is, that's how they hook you. Okay. And it's just a pattern that has created a new program in your mind, and you accepted it. So even your musical choice expand, because sometimes we get so caught up on this and we forget that. Expand your mind everywhere. That's the point of your journey, expanding your mind beyond what you normally commonly do. Period.
Exactly. They created a fucking culture and then got you to fucking trap yourself in it.
Yep. That's it.
Man.
We've been trapped. This is why the greatest thing, like he said, you're creative no matter what title you put on it. The greatest thing you could do is develop that creativity, even like the brother said, even if it's just for fun. Because I think we get involved and stuck in everything is for money. I understand why people get caught up in that, but when you just enjoy yourself and have fun, you'll get money from it. It might not be multi-millions, but you'll get money that will be good enough for you to sustain yourself, your family, and friends, and so whoever you choose to sustain with. You understand?
Exactly. Yeah, man.
But just enjoy the process of being you. Whatever the fuck you is, that's what you are. Do it for the love. Like, so look at that. Emperor, you just said it, and I saw it in the corner of my eye when I was saying it. Do it for the love of just doing it. Like, example, have you ever just cared about somebody just for them being themselves and not who you wanted them to be? Let me say that again slower. Have you ever just cared about somebody for them just being them and not who you wanted them to be?
That's some of the best shit in the world, man.
Exactly. Because sometimes if you just sit back and say, you know what, I just really genuinely care or love this person for them being them. Like, I don't want to alter any aspect of that. Just them being them is essentially beautiful. That is how your art should be. That is how your journey should be. I don't want to alter this shit to come out to what I want it to be. I want it to be what I need it to be, which is me just growing, flowing, and learning. That's it. You understand? Period. That's it. So when we go beyond that shit, then what happens? We get stuck and we trap ourselves, and our creativity dies with it. Okay? All of y'all, those here watching here, those people who are in Patreon classes, those brothers who and sisters who are watching Beast Laboratory on Instagram, all of y'all got something to say. This is my artistic form, expressing myself. You know what I'm saying? Charging up people's energy, expanding shit, like that's my shit. That's why I take so much love and interest in doing this. I don't always be on here like I want to, because I do classes where my love and interest lies at for people who want to develop and grow too, right? But this is my artistic expression. Before that, I used to break. I was a b-boy. I used to break. I was, I was nice. I wasn't the master of it all, but I was nice, right? Then after that, I got into deep house music. I was a house head. I danced house music. I'm nice. Not the greatest, but I'm nice. And I could be proud of being nice. You understand what I'm saying? So find that. You could be an athlete. If that's your passion, be that. Why do I say Sith? And I always use Sith as my example of archetype that I represent, is because Sith live by a model. And what's that model? Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Passion. What is your passion? If you have no passion, you literally are like a walking zombie. You literally are just a programmed slave in society doing A, B, C, and D. What is your passion?
Exactly.
Where is it? What wakes you up in the morning? When you wake up in the morning, what wakes you up? You understand? You have to have a passion to get up in the morning. Don't tell me, oh, it's just to put food on the table and feed my kids and so on and so forth. You should have a passion beyond that. Even if you
and
have,
you know what? You can't, you got to find out what that passion really, really is in its essence. Because if not, you may get trapped behind a fucking mask that you've created of comfortability. And if that passion stops behind that mask, then it wasn't really passion. That shit doesn't stop. It's like love. Love doesn't just stop in between point A and point B.
Exactly.
Love is something that's continuous, man.
Exactly.
You know, so you got to really be honest about what your passion really is, or else you're not Darth Nile. You're not Darth Nihilus.
You know? Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to have that. You know what I'm saying? What is your passion? Are you passionate about apotheosis, self-deification? Are you passionate about mastering yourself? Then you do whatever the hell it takes to do it, regardless who understands or not.
Exactly.
Period.
You can't be stopped. You won't be stopped. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah. You're going to see strange to people. We are going to seem strange because whether people like it or not, Beast in the Laboratory alluded to this earlier, whether we like it or not, you know, a lot of us on the left-hand path, we do have a bit of narcissism in us. That's a fact. Now, you may not want to admit it because the whole conscious caca is going on with narcissism, and everything is under attack about narcissism nowadays, because that's what conscious community does. I can give you a conscious community in 3 words. Simple, right? Before narcissism, everything was energy vampires.
Yeah.
Right? And before energy vampires, there was toxicity. You're toxic. Fucking 3 things that quick. All to control and program you, regardless what the fuck you think you are, how matter deep you think you are. That's all bullshit to control you. Okay?
To keep people nice.
Yeah, that's it. Because the bottom line is, yes, a lot of the left-hand path people are narcissists. We are. Now, the degrees vary because we use narcissism in a different way. I'm narcissist because I'm mastering myself. So self is the most important right now.
Exactly.
You understand? Not I'm narcissist because I want to bring misery into your life and fucking hurt you and abuse you. That's retardism. Okay, that's fucktardism. All right, that's a different level of narcissism. Okay, but Something else Brother Beast said earlier. I forgot to mention it back then. Pain. Pain. Let's go back to that. What I've learned on the left-hand path is through pain, you transform it to pleasure. You will feel and experience a lot of pain on this path. A lot. You may even cry about the shit you put yourself through. Notice how I said you have put yourself through? Okay? Yeah. You put yourself through. You may even cry about it. It's fine. Let it out. You're supposed to cry. Stop thinking you're not supposed to. It's painful, but that pain will turn into pleasure. Eventually, that pain does turn into pleasure. This is why Sith, this is why vampires, this is why people in the left-hand path, some of them journey into alternative forms of sex. BDSM, for example, where they experience pain into pleasure, right? Everybody has their little fucking, their little way they do it. That's your choice how you do it. You know what I'm saying? But pain in this path is essential and is necessary. If you haven't experienced pain walking this left-hand path yet, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Might as well go back to the church and ask Jesus to spank you. Maybe you'll feel pain like that, okay? Because you're supposed to feel pain in this path. You are. There's no denial. It can be very painful when you look at yourself and say, I'm a really fucked up person, yo. Like, really fucked up. You understand? Like, I've done some fucked up shit. That's fine. As long as you realize that and you can take a lot from it. Does that mean you're going to destroy every fucked up thing about you? No. Because just like an atom has a positive and a negative, a proton and a neutron and an electron is also what you must have. Because you're not going to destroy everything about you. Some things have to be transformed and made into a strength. So don't think, oh, you got to destroy all the negativity about me. But you're a goddamn fool. Negativity is just as necessary as positivity. That's why all these positive love and light fuckers piss me off. Because it's not all positive. Oh, I'm going to erase. No. And these fuckers are the ones who sage their fucking timeline on fucking Instagram and Facebook. You know how retarded that sounds to me? I'm saging my timeline. Shut the fuck up, okay?
Wait. That's a real thing? That's something people do?
Yes, I've seen it.
Oh, shit.
I've fucking seen this shit, man.
They wave sage at their computers and phones and shit?
Yes, they go like this. I like fucking at the webcam. I'm saging all negativity off my timeline. 5 hours later, you go back on that timeline, that motherfucker cursing because some negative shit happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no. You need negativity in your life. How would you know what's positive and how would you know? You need the shit. It's how you use the shit. It's how you learn from the shit that's necessary. You can't erase negativity. I don't want to erase negativity. I have negative traits that will never be gone. Okay? I just transmute it to a strength. I transmute it to something that I can use as a strength, like my rage. Let's say I was following everybody and my rage I got rid of. And then I get jumped and I'm fighting for my life and I can't summon that rage. Well, guess what? I fucking did the worst thing to myself possible. I eliminated that rage and destroyed it completely. Now I'm fucking caught without what I need to access when it's most necessary. But if I still have that rage and I know how to control it now and use it, I unleash it at that very moment to fight for my survival and get out of that situation. Okay?
And you bring up a point about something that pisses me off about the whole right hand shit and the whole fucking, as you put it, love and light shit, is that they act as if all emotions don't have a fucking place within us so that we can access them when they're necessary now. Yeah. You know, like for me, it's hatred. Hatred has fucking changed my life over and over and over again. Embracing what I hate about myself, what I hate about a situation, hate has fucking changed my life. And it's beautiful.
It is.
It's fucking beautiful.
But we're taught that hate is wrong.
Exactly. You're supposed to either suppress it or try to get rid of it, or, I mean.
That's because they want to make people docile, submissive, and servant-like, right? Exactly. So of course I would eliminate that from you. But you're supposed to hate things. like you said, hating things about yourself is essential. Okay. If you don't hate things about yourself, you're letting shit ride that shouldn't be there sometimes.
Exactly.
But sometimes I hate shit outside of myself. Okay. And I feel I don't want no part of that shit, or I need to destroy that shit around me. You got to understand all that shit is necessary, right? Because if you go back to the Sith and Darth Sidious is talking to, Anakin and others, he tells them, hate, use it, use your anger, use hate.
Yeah.
It makes you focus. It makes you more powerful. Many times we bypass that shit and fail to realize, yes, you should use it, right? So then here come the fluffies. Yeah, but you see how extreme Anakin got and then he became Darth Vader. So fucking what? That the point is Hollywood's always going to exaggerate shit. The point is listen to what's the wisdom that's being said. Because when you watch a lot of Hollywood movies, they do a trick on people. The villain, the adversary in the movies usually kicking the most facts. But they have to lighten it up to stay in unison with the society's morality. So they'll bring the good guy in there or the good people in there to destroy that adversary. But when you go back to Avengers, you hear Thanos saying the truth. Okay? When you go back to Batman, let's say Batman, which was the second one, the Dark Knight.
Joker?
Yeah, when the Joker was there, the Joker was kicking nothing but facts. Batman couldn't take that shit because Batman was still under society's programming. That shit fucked him
fucking
up.
Hurt and traumatized. He hasn't worked past his shit.
Exactly. But Joker was hitting him right on the fucking head. And he was like, oh no, Batman was fighting that shit, bro. But the fact is, he knew Joker was on point. That's why he couldn't let Joker die, because his morality at the end said, no, we're just going to lock his ass up. See? Sometimes, you got to realize if that's really your adversary, like real life adversary, sometimes you're going to have to off a person. But that's a different story, because then people are going to say, oh, Ravana is teaching hate and anger and destruction on his show. Get rid of him, ban him. Yeah, it's been done before. So anyways, let me give a disclaimer here. If I am banned here at any point in time for saying things like this, okay, y'all can reach me on Instagram, Temple of the Black Serpent. Y'all can reach me on Patreon, okay? The Temple of the Black Serpent there. I'm just saying, because it's possible. Y'all know it's possible now. We live in a world you can't say shit, all right? All right, brother, give your contact information, your closing statements. These people, they love the class, and I want you back soon, so probably sometime in, May? I'll get you back in May because April's here, and I got a couple people here, but let's try to get something in May. So give me your contact information, closing statement. We'll go from there. I know I'll talk all night. He'll talk all night. We got shit to do tomorrow, so I can't be here all night. All right, brother, go ahead.
All right. So my contact information once again is Beast Laboratory on TikTok and on Instagram. And you can find my Big Cartel shop because I have links from both pages that go directly there to where you can see the stuff that I make if you're interested at all. The name of my Big Cartel shop is Demonical Eye, all one word. And as far as the closing statement is concerned, I guess I want to say, go back to what you were talking about earlier, and be more intuitive with your workings. Don't lean so heavily on what you read in a book and the research that you do, because that in itself will take away in some way, it'll take away from you actually developing an organic experience and an organic connection to the spirit that you're trying to connect with. Yeah. And other than that, be careful. Shit's fucking crazy.
Very crazy. Very crazy. All right, I'll give my closing statements now. As I said before, Temple of the Black Serpent on Instagram, Temple of the Black Serpent on Patreon, Temple of the Black Serpent on YouTube. We have classes. Right now we have necromancy class. We have Tunnels of Set, which is tunnels of set is like some next level shit. Demetrius, who was here earlier, is helping me with that shit. That's some mind-blowing, mind-splitting shit. All right. And eventually that will metamorphosize more into going into the Cliff Oath as well. All right. We have a vampire magic class. We have a necromancy class. I said that already, right? And then we have a deific mass class. Those are going on now. If you want to join, get down. The difference between YouTube and the classes, we'll go into things more thoroughly, more in depth that we can't do on YouTube so much say, but we have a lot of ritual working that is necessary to split your head open. What do I mean by that? Some of the work that we do, Brother Beast, myself, and others on the left-hand path, is like taking a hammer to your subconscious mind and cracking that open. We have a lot of blockages from the conscious to the subconscious, definitely to the unconscious. And some of this ritual work is like taking a hammer to your subconscious and cracking it open. Why do you have to crack open your subconscious? Because therein lies the truth of who you are and what you've suppressed and what you ignore and what you avoid. All those things have to come up. And they can't come up in one working, few workings. They have to come up in repetitive work, consistent work, over and over. So you're going to have to keep cracking. Okay? So that's why I focus a lot on Patreon, because the ones who really want to do some like intense work, they know they're going to get their skull cracked. Okay? In so many words, and it's going to open up that subconscious and it's going to pour out of you. And when it pours out of you, sometimes you need someone to discuss it with or share it with. And you may not always have access to that, because a lot of us on the left-hand path are solitary, you know, but when we connect with people, we become like a wolf pack. The real people we connect with on the left-hand path, we become stronger. So keep that in mind. So we kind of also, it's like a community of people who come together, who also stay linked together. Okay. That's that. Then we have the Sith Temple of Darkness. For those who are serious about the Sith work, right? It's not just a fucking movie. I'm gonna be real with you. That is a concept that George Lucas got from associating with the Temple of Set and so on and so forth. Don't believe me? You can do thorough research enough to know there's a connection there with Joseph Campbell, Temples of Set, and so on and so forth. Okay?
Most definitely.
Anyways, so when he revealed that, Sith is very associated, similar to Set and Seth and Setians, right? It's very similar, very associated. It's about individuated consciousness. Okay, it very much is. The difference with the temple, the Sith temple, and the Temple of Black Serpent is Sith temple is a challenge temple. You don't just get ritual work; you get challenges, mental challenges, physical challenges, so on and so forth. Because Sith believe the way you really master yourself is challenge yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually by putting yourself through tasks that are not so easy to accomplish. That's the difference. So depending on which way you want to walk it, we're here for you. All right. My brother Beast, it was good to see you. It was good to communicate. Stay in touch with me on Instagram, because we're going to set up April soon. I mean, for April or May soon. So I want to really get that going. I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of messages tomorrow from people, bro, on your page and my page. I'm sure of it. Okay?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. Y'all take care. In front of blessings to all tonight. Y'all may have a dark and sexy night, y'all. Hold on. First of all, let me shut off Zoom first, brother.